Welcome to another episode of the Daily Dave. Today we're going to talk about racism. So there was that story that I wanted to tell uh, a week ago that I did tell to the camera, and the camera lagged, and I got really pissed off, and I was sick, and all this garbage. So when I first moved here, I moved to a small city in Saitama. I mean, I hated where I lived, at least the place I was in. So I actually moved about a maybe half an hour, maybe an hour walk. I don't know, like not so long drive, 10-15 minute drive south to a station called Hanakogane. I'm about a 15-minute walk away from that station. So near the station there is a sukiya, or skiya in Japanese. It's one of the big three beef bowl places in the country. And beef bowl, aka gyudon, is a very common, like, cheap fast food dine-in type of food you can get. All it is like the thin shredded beef on top of rice in a bowl. You'll know of this back in the States as Yoshinoya. Yes, that company originated here, but it's weird because then they don't have the chicken breast, and surprisingly, I find myself really, really missing teriyaki chicken breast. But here they have like pork belly bowl, so like, yeah, screw you. I don't know. So I was at Skiya. This was like the second month in Japan or something like that. I went for some late night food because these places tend to be open 24/7, and so the especially late night, I feel like the staff tends to just be like two, maybe three people in the store in its entirety. Because it's fairly simple. Like, you just need to like scoop rice, pour ice water, put beef in a thing, and then it comes out. I don't know. Like, it never looks like it's really difficult to like prepare the meals there. I mean, it's kind of like at McDonald's where you press buttons and then like stuff comes out. But so this Skia specifically would hire foreign workers. It still does. And this one time, I think it was like two Thai people working there, two Thai immigrants. And I mean, I could tell that they were like from another country, because their Japanese was honestly probably worse than mine, at least in terms of pronunciation. And so the idea is, when you walk into a restaurant, like, they say welcome, they tell you, please choose a seat that you like, and then they bring you your water, like, right away, and then they're ready to take your order, but they'll tell you when you are ready, or if you are ready, you can press the button, that type of deal. So I sit down, and like, they don't do that at all, right? And I start just flipping through the menu, because I'm just like, yeah, I legitimately want to look through the menu. There's this older gentleman sitting kind of across to the right of me, and he sees this, and he presses his button, and the waitress comes over, and then he goes like, what are you doing? Like, a customer just came in, why aren't you serving him? Why aren't you, like, it's really disrespectful for you to do this. I was like, uh-oh, um, and like, I guess like earlier, she, like, when he called her, or someone called her, and instead of saying like, oh, shosho omachi kudasai, which is like, please wait a minute, I don't know if she said like ma or something. I don't know what that means, if that means anything in Thai or whatever. But he was like, he basically said like, you don't say ma when someone addresses you. You have to properly address them. Like, in Japan, the customer is supposed to be at a higher level than you when you're a service worker. So there's this kind of a hierarchy / duality to it all. Like the customer isn't always right, but there is this attitude of like, they do need to do their best to serve you, and they have to speak to you in a certain manner as well. So anyway, like, he starts going off on her, and it gets really bad, because then he basically goes like, like, what are you doing in this country if you can't speak the language? Like, Japan is for the Japanese. In America, we speak English. It was like shit like that, that really It upsets me because my parents are immigrants, and I understand what it's like for immigrants to go to another country and honestly not be fluent in the home language, the target language, and to be treated like as second class citizens because it's like, hey, like you just got here, like blah blah blah. On the other hand, I understand though, like if you're going to live in another country, like yes, please speak the language. I still feel like I'm at a level where like I'm very primitive, because I feel like I can survive here, but I can't like I almost feel like I can't be an adult here, which is pretty ridiculous. But anyway, so yeah, this guy starts going off on her and really just tearing her apart. It was really ridiculous. And I felt super uncomfortable because like I didn't want to say anything because I'm like, oh shit, I'm a foreigner too, like most of the time I don't think anyone really realizes that I'm not Japanese. Anyway, so yeah, it was just sucked. And then like at the end, like when he went up to pay, he was just like, oh, like, you don't understand Japanese, so I don't have to pay, right? Because you guys said, you don't understand Japanese, so that's why it's okay for you not to follow our customs or whatever. And, all they can really say at that point is like, sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, he ended up paying and he left like a grouchy old dude. And I was just like, man, like part of me wants to just be like, hey, sorry that happened. I totally understand because I'm a foreigner too. But I will admit, he had like some validity to his point of like, listen, service in Japan works this way, and if you can't do it, you shouldn't work at this job. Because there is this kind of level of expectation. There's this level of expectation. I think I just accidentally a word. There's this level of expectation, and if you don't meet it, like, I mean, yeah, it's not the end of the world, but at the same time, especially in a place like Japan, that's what needs to happen. Like there are so many people who like compliment Japan for the way it is because of the way the system works. Like it's a very rigid, sometimes archaic, sometimes really frustrating system, especially, for foreigners and to Japanese people too. But it is that way because it produces the results it does. Now, I'm not necessarily like justifying if it's like right or wrong necessarily. But in this case, yes, when you work as a service worker in Japan, there is a standard to it. I mean, the store is going to have a standard, society's going to have a standard, and I mean, your manager's going to have a standard, like, so I do agree with him in the sense that like, yeah, I didn't get my water, like darn, but I'm not going to be like a grouch about it. I'll just ask for the water later. And it sucks because now these days I actually watch to see if the waiters or waitresses do give me the water when I walk in or not. It's freaking ridiculous. And more often than not, like, unfortunately, it tends to be like a foreign worker who doesn't. Like either they're still in training, that I totally understand, or it's just not part of their routine. I don't know, but it just happens. So I understand the argument of like, hey, it needs to be a certain way, because yeah, that's just what it makes this country the way it is. But I'm totally not cool with it when you're basically going like, hey, get out of my country because you don't deserve to be here or whatever. Stop tainting my country. I don't know. It's just stuff like that is just like such a downer, especially being an American and like having to hear so much about the tension back home. It's a little depressing, but that was a super super interesting situation for me, just because I was like, whoa, like this is I thought I left racism behind. No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, it was just weird and uncomfortable, and I hope to not experience stuff like that again. But but it really made me think about the duality of the whole situation, like from the side of the immigrant, from the side of the citizen, and as kind of like an outsider observing how the situation unfolded. So the lesson here is don't be a jerk and work to your fullest. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's by the way, so the pain in my like and like rib cage chest area is I think it's getting a little bit better, but it still sucks to cough. I'm just really paranoid now because okay, three things. One, a former housemate of mine told me he had a really bad cough. Coughed so hard he like fractured a rib. Okay, fucking paranoid about that. Number two, one of my best buddies here tells me he had something similar uh, when he was away and had a really bad cough, and it ended up being some sort of like neural muscle like damage from coughing that basically just goes away over time. But you just all you need is like painkillers to get to power through it, and it takes like a month or something to heal. Okay, that freaking sucks. And then number three, my boss was like, "Oh, you probably bruised your lung." I'm like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah, because you know, if you're coughing really loud, it's a bag. You know, it gets hit by like the spiny parts of your rib cage. And if it's really bad, you might actually have a hole in your lung." And I'm like, "Okay, fantastic." I don't think it is because it's in the upper region. But then again, really don't know how the rib cage like. I gotta go study some more anatomy or something. Um. Anyway, healing nicely, I guess. Besides all that, and yeah, things are okay. So far, so good. Countdown to the new year begins. But I'll see you in the next one, and peace out, guys.